In today's news, the Thai Prime Minister is being sued for alleged mismanagement of the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the CCSA has announced its plan to gradually reopen the country in 4 phases, and the governor of Phuket has lodged a formal appeal for the resumption of nightlife and alcohol sales in the island province. Details on these stories and many more coming right up. Welcome to the Thaiger channel, and you're watching Thailand News Today, bringing you the latest top stories in Thailand and beyond. As promised, our first story begins with the Thai Prime Minister being sued for 50 million baht by a restaurant group for financial losses endured as a result of the government's alleged mismanagement of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the report, the Never Ending Summer Company, which represents 39 other restaurant operators, has filed a class action lawsuit against Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. The civil court issued a statement to confirm the lawsuit, with an online hearing via Zoom scheduled to take place on November the 9th. According to the court, restaurant operators say the temporary closure of eateries under the emergency decree did nothing to curtail the spread of COVID-19. The petition asserted that Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha had declared the nationwide emergency situation under the pandemic and had acted willfully or negligently, resulting in several disease clusters. The restaurant operators go on to say that the government's procurement of vaccines, antigen kits, and medication to relieve COVID-19 symptoms was inadequate, naming the Public Health Ministry, Interior Ministry, and the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration in the lawsuit. The group says it arrived at the figure of 50 million baht compensation based on calculations from March the 17th of 2020, when COVID-19 first began to take hold in the country. Meanwhile, the governor of Phuket has lodged a formal appeal for restaurants on the southern island to be allowed to sell alcohol and for nightlife to be reopened. Governor Narong Wunsiu submitted the request to the Center of COVID-19 Situation Administration yesterday, citing the unprecedented financial struggles faced by locals as a result of the restrictions. The island has been open to foreign tourists since January the 1st through its sandbox scheme, but the governor says visitors are adversely affected by being unable to enjoy alcohol in restaurants while on holiday. In his letter to the CCSA, the governor says the sandbox is operating under tight regulations to prevent the spread of COVID-19, but that the extended closure of bars and other nightlife venues is having a detrimental effect on livelihoods. He says the owners of bars and nightclubs are willing to adhere to strict disease control measures if they are allowed to reopen to serve sandbox tourists. The governor goes on to outline an extensive list of public health measures agreed at a recent meeting of the Phuket Communicable Disease Committee. If the CCSA agrees on these measures, they would then be used to govern the reopening of bars and nightlife and the sale of alcohol. Yesterday, the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration has announced its plan to gradually reopen the country. The plan consists of 4 phases that take into consideration tourism revenue, geography, and COVID preventive measures. The list of provinces to open in each phase are as follows. Following the government's decision to reopen a further 10 provinces to international visitors from November, tourism operators are calling for a clear plan ahead of high season. Yesterday, the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration agreed on a number of measures, including reducing curfew hours in the dark red provinces, allowing a number of businesses to reopen, and extending the emergency decree until the end of the month. At that same meeting, it was agreed to reduce the quarantine period to 7 days for fully vaccinated arrivals from October and to reopen Bangkok and another 9 provinces from November. However, from Friday, tourists will be able to travel directly to Krabi, Phang Nga, and Koh Samui. Tourism operators in these areas are therefore urging the government to introduce a clear marketing strategy for foreign visitors, as representatives from local tourism councils pointed out that such plans take time to generate demand and that foreign tourists will need time to plan their trips. There is also confusion over whether they can take day trips to another province during their first 7 days. From October the 31st, flights are scheduled to resume from Singapore and Malaysia to Krabi, while flights from Scandinavia will resume from November the 1st. The mayor of Pattaya City has officially confirmed that the city's reopening to vaccinated foreign tourists has been delayed to November. The announcement follows a similar one made by the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration yesterday. The Pattaya City mayor says many provinces have delayed their reopening from October to November, including Chonburi, where Pattaya is situated in. He added that because the majority of the provinces that want to reopen to foreign tourists have not reached the 70% goal for herd immunity, the CCSA has postponed any reopening of the provinces to foreign tourists. This includes Chonburi, as some of its major districts have yet to reach this threshold. The mayor concluded that 90% of staff who work in tourism businesses have already been vaccinated and that 4,000 people are vaccinated in Pattaya every day, including foreigners. The government says it aims to procure 120 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines next year, with a particular focus on booster shots and children between the ages of 3 and 11 who have yet to be vaccinated. Dr. Tawisin Wisnuyotin from the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration says that the doses will consist of 60 million AstraZeneca vaccines, between 30 and 50 million from Pfizer, and the remainder will be from other manufacturers. According to a report, the AstraZeneca doses will arrive in 3 deliveries. 15 million will arrive in the first quarter of 2022, 30 million in quarter 2, and another 15 million in the third quarter. Meanwhile, 7.5 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine are expected in the first quarter of the year, another 7.5 million in Q2, and 17.5 million each in quarters 3 and 4. According to Tawisin, 70% of the country will have received a first vaccine dose by November, rising to 80% by December, and that 70% of the population will be fully vaccinated in December. Meanwhile, between 1 and 2 million vaccine doses will be given as booster shots to fully vaccinated people between October and December. Officials from Bangkok and the nearby provinces of Nonthaburi and Pathum Thani are being told to prepare for possible flooding following a decision to accelerate the discharge rate of water from the Chao Phraya Dam north of the capital. The director of the Ayutthaya Irrigation Project says that the move was made to reduce the risk of floods in the north of Thailand. He adds that provinces downstream of the Chao Phraya Dam in Chainat province have been urged to prepare for a potential surge of water from the dam, which may result in floods in low-lying regions. Yesterday, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha posted on Facebook saying that the heavy downpours due to Tropical Depression Dianmu have started to recede, but heavy rain is still expected in isolated areas, which brings with it the risk of flash floods and possibly landslides. The Prime Minister also says that the Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation has been told to devise a flood response plan and to dispatch officials and equipment to assist people who have been affected by floods. Meanwhile, the governor of Bangkok has warned residents that intense showers have been predicted across the nation until Thursday. And that's all for the news today, but check out the videos that just popped up to continue watching content from the Thaiger channel. Thailand News Today will be back tomorrow with more headlines. Meanwhile, you're now up to date on the Thaiger.